The next story I wanted to talk about is about a guy named Johnny Enlow. Now, I've talked about him a bunch on my channel, actually, both on my main channel and on the Fireside Chat channel, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an update because he just released a new clip recently where he was talking to our old buddy Steve Schultz from ElijahList.com, and he had more shit to say about Donald Trump. I figured as time went on, he would give up on the idea that Donald Trump is not going to be back in office in 2021. I figured he'd give up on the idea after a while, but he released more clips. So I'll tell you what, why don't we take a look at this clip from early December 2019. This is just before the 2020 election really started revving up. See what he had to say about Donald Trump at the time. Check this out.
And then in March, right when I'm saying that I have this, it's not an open vision, but it was a vision.
Let me just tell you what the difference is between the two. Open vision is where you are physically standing in a location watching something unfold. These are things that God gives to you. God grants these visions. A closed vision, which is what he says that he had, is almost like a dream. Like you close your eyes and you're seeing this stuff in front of you, that kind of thing. So he's about to describe this closed vision that he had, that God gave him. Check it out.
And in the vision, I see this circular mountain that goes up, and there's a path all the way up. And at the top is Donald Trump, and he's on a motorcycle. And he's on a motorcycle, and he's making a lot of noise with it. And he has red, white, and blue bandana on his head. Actually talked out loud, and I go, "Oh no!" Because I was like, "This means this is not going to be a peaceful exchange. This is not a peaceful transition."
I'm not sure how he got there. How did he get from seeing Trump on a motorcycle on top of a mountain to this isn't going to be a peaceful transition of power? And what is it with this like masculinity thing? Like motorcycles represent some kind of a weird masculine energy or something like that. Why a motorcycle? Has Trump ever ridden a motorcycle in his life? I don't know. I doubt it for some reason. This is an objectively knowable answer. Let's see. I just Googled it out of curiosity. Has Trump ever ridden on a motorcycle? And the answer seems to be no. That's tentative. There's no way to really know. But it says he has taken pictures on motorcycles with his daughter, for example. Like headshots or whatever on a motorcycle. I don't know what their obsession is with motorcycles, but you can see this in Ben Garrison cartoons too. I'll put some up here on the side if you haven't seen these, but there's some weird obsession with like QAnoners and extreme right wingnuts or nutter butters, if you will. There's an obsession with them thinking that Trump is like some alpha male who rides motorcycles. I just don't get it. Let's keep listening.
This is not a peaceful transition we're going into. This is something more. And so I was like, Lord, as I'm saying that, the first thing he said is, he is going to save you from things you don't know you need to be saved from yet. And then the Lord progressively began to speak regarding that. And he said, this time in the presidency is going to be a hinge of the ages. And you'd be known as before Trump and after Trump because of the way I'm going to use him.
That's fucking strange, right? He's going to save you from things you don't know you need to be saved from yet. And this is going to be a hinge of the ages. We're switching from basically before Christ and Anno Domini, or as Christians like to call it, before Christ and after death. We're switching from that standard to before Trump and after Trump, according to this guy. He's saying that Trump plays such a significant role in the history of the world that the world is going to start using before Trump and after Trump as their new calendar. So we're starting in year 1 AT is what Johnny Enlow is saying. Of course, this is in 2019, so this is before Trump actually left office. This is an unhealthy obsession with Donald Trump. This is an unhealthy view of a political candidate or a political actor, if you will. Let's keep listening.
And the Lord, it was like, I'm really not interested in your all's vote this time. I'm doing it. I usually give you all that option. This time I'm not. This is a rescue operation from heaven. This is a moment of the ages. This will go down. This time period will go down as a before and after AD, but BC, AD, depending on what terminology you use now.
That takes some courage right there. Basically, what he just said is, don't bother voting because I'm going to put Trump into office anyways. I don't care about your vote. Don't bother. Stay home. This guy basically just told his entire listener base, which, by the way, is not tiny, to stay home because God is going to make sure Trump is the president anyways. That takes real courage to say something like that. That is a level of confidence that I will never have about anything, I don't think. Holy shit. But that's not where the craziness ends. This next clip is late January 2021. This is after Trump lost the election, unequivocally, and Biden was already inaugurated as the new president. Check this clip out.
So there's all these dimensions the Lord is coming to affect and change right now. And President Trump still has a very active, viable role in that, and he will still step in on the playing field itself. He's even under the playing field. Believe me, God is doing things with him, and I won't go into it more than that.
Okay, before we continue, I just want to kind of draw out what he's saying here. He's basically saying, yes, Biden is the figurehead. He's at the top of... Cat's just sitting here staring at me like a weirdo. That was strange. Anyways, he's at the top of the hierarchy, Biden is, on paper. Everybody sees him there, but actually Trump is the one pulling the strings. And this is really better. This is actually something Johnny Enlow said. This is actually better. It's better this way because Donald Trump doesn't get blamed for the things that go wrong. The media won't crucify him for things that he does that they didn't like or whatever. Biden will get the heat from the media. So it's better that Trump is behind the scenes pulling the levers and Biden is the figurehead. That's what Johnny Enlow said in another clip. I don't have it here, but that's what he said. Let's keep listening.
He's not a passive player. He is recognized from heaven. He is recognized as the primary government leader on planet Earth.
Whoa, wait a minute. Planet Earth? He's never been the leader of planet Earth, even when he was the president. At best, he was the president of the United States, not the Earth. Where is all this coming from? This is fucking strange. Suddenly, he's the president of Earth?
From heaven, President Trump is recognized as the primary government leader on planet Earth.
That is fucking strange. Where is this guy getting his ideas? He's not unique in all this, though. By the way, if you didn't know who Johnny Enlow was, he is a foremost leader in the QAnon movement. He basically communicates with his audience and with the QAnon audience. He's like the linchpin between the QAnon people and the Christians. The last person I talked about, the praying medic, Dave Hayes, he is a primary QAnon interpreter. Johnny Enlow isn't an interpreter. Johnny Enlow is a QAnon and Christian linchpin, a communicator, if you will. He's extremely important in the QAnon movement and the Christian movement. He's not a nobody in all this. But if you think that the idea that Donald Trump is a messiah practically, if you think that's unique, there's another person named Bill Mitchell. This guy is just a right-wing radio talk show host. He had some interesting things to say about Trump too. This came out late June 2019. So give this clip a watch and see what Bill Mitchell has to say.
And we are witnesses to history. 200, 300, 1,000 years from now, the historians will look back and say, this was the moment in time where America turned back from the brink. America was on the brink of disaster. America was ready to go Thelma and Louise over the cliff. And America has come back from the brink to achieve the greatness that God has always destined for us. And he used Donald Trump the same way that he's used David, the same way that he's used Samson, the same ways that he used Abraham, the same way that he turned Saul into Paul, who ended up writing about a third of the New Testament. The same way he used all of these heroes from the Bible, he's using Donald Trump right now to stand in the gap and save America. It's remarkable to watch. Folks, you are living in historic times right now.
Isn't that weird? This guy is not only comparing Donald Trump to Bible characters, which is weird in itself, but he also seems to be affirming what Johnny Enlow said earlier, that this will be a hinge of the ages. When historians look back, they'll say, this was one BT, one before Trump, and one after Trump. Those are the years. These are historic times. He is a part of their theology now. He's a part of their religion. We're literally sitting here living through it while new cults are formed. We are watching these new cults come up out of nothing. It's actually extremely fascinating to watch. And if QAnon was going to appear anyways, which I figure something like it probably would eventually, I'm glad that I was here to watch it take place so that I could kind of figure it out and see how it all happened, as it did. I wish that QAnon didn't exist in the first place, but here we are. So there's a new clip from Johnny Enlow. Just came out October 14th, 2021. I wanted to give this a watch and see what Johnny Enlow has to say now, because we heard what he had to say before Donald Trump actually lost the election. He was basically telling his people to not bother going in and voting, right? We heard what he had to say after Trump lost and Biden was actually inaugurated. He said Trump was actually pulling the levers behind the scenes. I was wondering what he had to say now. Almost a full year. In fact, we're coming right up on a full year after the election, after Trump lost. I wonder what he has to say now. Let's check this out.
Me ask the prophetic people all the time, when's he going to be back in that seat? It's like, if you just knew a little more of the macro, he's doing what he's supposed to. And just to add to that, like, because I just saw it again in the spirit.
Okay, so he's about to tell us what he saw again in the spirit, but isn't that fascinating?
Knew a little more of the macro.
If you knew a little more of the macro, then it would all make sense. It would all come together. You'd understand. Trump is actually on his way back to the presidency.
Prophetic people all the time, when's he going to be back in that seat? It's like, if you just knew a little more of the macro.
This dude is absolutely obsessed with Trump to an entirely too unhealthy degree. The fact that anybody can't just accept it when a political candidate loses an election, which happens all the time, that's concerning. This guy absolutely won't accept it. And he, like I said, he's the linchpin between QAnon and Christianity. He's the pastor that QAnoners come to and Christians come to if they want to hear more about each other, basically. Let's keep listening.
And just to add to that, like, because I just saw it again in the spirit, what I saw a few days ago was I saw a picture of President Trump playing chess again. And he's very advanced. I could tell he's very good in advance.
Why does he have to be very good in advance? Like, why did he even have to add that detail in? You could have just left it at, I saw Trump playing chess, and move on. Why is he so obsessed with making sure everybody knows that Trump is the best at everything? I don't fucking get it, man.
Then all the you back up, you see the higher view. God has him on his chessboard. So Trump and his whole board were on his board. And he's actually playing Trump.
This is so hard to watch. This guy is telling us this story like he actually saw this. He really believes he literally saw Trump playing chess on God's chessboard.
And he's above, and he's the unbeatable master at chess. And so that's what's always the encouraging thing. And whenever we feel discouraged with what we're seeing, it means we lack the higher view of seeing what's really taking place.
Is this guy ever going to give up on Trump? Ever? I suspect not. I suspect he will go to the grave believing that Trump is the real president of the U.S. and always has been, and runs things behind the scenes and is just waiting for the right moment to start the storm. This big group of mass arrests that are going to happen of a bunch of Democrats and blah, blah, blah. Going to put Hillary Clinton in Gitmo, the whole 9 yards. He will go to his grave believing that that's right over the horizon. This clip came from early June 2021. Johnny Enlow made an appearance on the Flyover Conservative podcast to talk about Trump and when he would be back in office. Check this one out.
Have you heard any timeline? Of course, that one has to come out. Any timelines at all?
It's the same thing God says, and it's the most frustrating timeline ever. Soon! Because soon with him is
never our soon.
Never our soon. I just, it has to be this year. And
Ooh, yeah, that's embarrassing. Has to be this year. Well, there isn't a lot of time left for that. In fact, by the time you see this clip on YouTube, it may already be over. So, yeah, that's rough. Maybe you should watch the things you say so as not to stick your foot in your mouth.
We used to say it has to be this month.
Yeah, we used to say it has to be. The deal is we also know natural intel like you all do. And
Yeah.
so that I have to be led by spiritual
Yes.
intel.
Right.
Yes.
And I do believe the timing of the Lord is perfect in this.
Yeah.
And there are things, it's one of my prophetic friends right now believes, there was something that President Trump is so disturbed by certain things that are happening. He's wanting to even accelerate, that he was being tempted to accelerate and doing it faster than a plan that they had.
That they had, i.e., Donald Trump and God, made a plan together for him to take back the presidency. This is so many levels removed from reality at this point, I can't even count them. This is full-blown Nutter Butters.
Wasn't necessarily the way they're supposed to go. And I'm like, no, I agree with Trump. Let's do it now.
Sure.
Let's do it.
And these people are eating it up. They believe it. They invited this dude on with his wife to tell them, give them insight, because he's a prophet. He's a prophet of God. God provides to Johnny Enlow prophetic insight, visions of the future, secret information the rest of the world doesn't know. That's where we are now as a society. This guy is being told secret messages by God about Donald Trump. Trump is a part of their theology now. If you ever wondered if this was a religious movement, this support for Trump, this video that you just watched should be enough to close the deal for you. Should be enough to make you realize it is full-blown religious and it is a cult.